Imagine for a second that every thought you have is not just a random cloud in your head, but a signal, a real electrical and chemical event that either pulls you towards the life that you want or pulls you deeper into the life that you say you want to escape. Most people hear about manifestation and they think it's some wishy-washy thing where you close your eyes, you visualize a car, and it magically appears in your driveway. That is not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the science behind why certain people can decide on a goal, hold it on the front part of their mind, and then watch reality slowly arrange around that decision. I'm talking about the law of vibration, how your brain literally tunes itself like a radio, and how believing something to be true can change your body, your perception, and your behavior so strongly that your outer world has but no choice to rearrange and follow. I will say be careful what you wish for, because if you understand this, it may actually happen. In the next few minutes, I want to show you how exactly this is happening under the hood when you manifest anything. I want to explain how your nervous system, your emotions, your focus, and your daily decisions all sync up into one frequency. I'm going to show you how people unconsciously manifest both success and failure. Yeah, that's right. They manifest the things that they don't want. I'm going to give you a practical way to tune your own vibration to the life that you say that you want, not the life you're currently tolerating. And if you stay until the end, I'm going to give you one exercise that you can do today that starts shifting your internal frequency from I hope to I know, giving you the result that you want. Let us start with the law of vibration. Strip away all the spiritual language for a second and look at it through a lens of basic physics and biology. At the microscopic level, nothing in your body is really solid. Atoms are in a constant motion, electrons, ions, all of it is all moving. Your brain is not a silent organ, it's electrical. Neurons are firing, chemicals are being released, and we can literally measure brainwaves. Beta is when you're focused, and alpha is when you're more relaxed and you're more of a creative state. Theta, on the other hand, when you are in a deep imaginative. These rhythms are vibration. Your emotional state is not just a feeling, it's a biochemical signature that shows up in your heart rate, your breathing, your muscle tension, your face, your posture, and your brain activity. Now here's where it gets interesting. Your brain has a system called the reticular activating system. Think of it like a filter. The world is too loud, too busy, too full of information, and your brain has to decide what to pay attention to. The reticular activating system is influenced by what you believe is important, what you think about repeatedly, and what you emotionally charge with meaning. When you hold a goal vividly in your mind and you connect that goal to a strong emotion, you're telling your nervous system, this matters. Show me anything that relates to this. That is a vibration in a practical sense. You tune your internal state to a certain idea and your perception starts to align with it. You've probably experienced this. You decide you want, say, a certain car, and suddenly you see them everywhere. You decide you want to start a business, and suddenly you're noticing podcasts, videos, and people talking about entrepreneurship that you somehow never saw before. Did a car or the opportunity suddenly appear out of nowhere? No. They were always there. You tuned your internal frequency to them. This is the beginning of manifestation. What you think about with intensity and repetition changes what you see. And what you see changes how you feel. And how you feel changes what you do. And what you do consistently changes what you get, your results. So where does making anything come true fit into this? Here's the honest answer. You cannot violate the laws of physics. It's science. But you can get so aligned with a goal that from the outside it almost looks like magic. When you deeply believe something is possible, your brain stops wasting energy on doubt and starts using that energy to search new pathways. Your body reflects that belief. Your posture changes, your tone changes, and the way you talk about your future changes. Other people read that energy unconsciously and they react differently to it. Doors that stayed shut for years suddenly crack open. Not because the university suddenly likes you more, but because you are finally vibrating at a level that says, I'm serious, I'm ready, and I'm not leaving. Belief is not a soft concept. Belief is a pattern in your nervous system, okay? It is neural pathways that have fired so many times that they've become a default. When you believe that you're not enough, that pattern fires automatically. When you believe you're capable, that pattern fires automatically. Both beliefs manifest. They manifest in how quickly you give up, in what risks you take, in how you interpret feedback, and in what level of consistency you're willing to maintain. Be careful what you wish for, and be even more careful what you repeatedly think about, because your nervous system is always listening, and your life tends to rise or fall to the level of your dominant thoughts. If you wish to go deeper into this and actually map out your belief systems, your patterns, and your internal rules, I break this down in extreme depth inside my disruption program. We go through a process identifying the stories you are running, the frequency you are living in right now, and we rebuild it piece by piece so you can start resonating with the identity of the future that you want, not the one that you got handed. If that speaks to you, the link is sitting in the description and you can jump into the full training as soon as you're ready. Now let's get in the anatomy of manifestation. Think of it like a chain reaction. First there's a thought, then there's an emotion, then there's a behavior, and then there's an environment. And most people try and change the environment without changing the layers underneath. They want maybe more money without changing the way they make decisions around opportunity. They want better relationships without changing the way they show up in their current relationships. They want a stronger body without changing the feelings they attach to discomfort. This is why people get temporary results. They push from the outside in. Science shows us that the more sustainable path is inside out. Now, thoughts are electrical and emotions are chemical. So when you hold a certain thought and add emotion to it, you create a state that changes your whole body. It changes your hormones, it changes your heart rhythm, it changes your breath. Over time, these states shape your traits. That is the law of vibration in human language. High quality mixed thoughts with empowering emotions create a clear, energized, and confident state. Now, low quality thoughts mixed with, say, fear and shame create a real heavy, constricted, hesitant state. Both are vibrations, both sending signals to the brain and the body. Both attract specific experiences. There's another important piece here, okay? The brain does not perfectly distinguish between what you vividly imagine and what you actually experience. That's right, it doesn't know the difference. When you visualize something with detail and emotion, you are rehearsing. Brain regions related to that action light up. Athletes use this all the time. They mentally rehearse a perfect performance and the brain treats it like practice. When you constantly rehearse failure, disaster, rejection, your nervous system is practicing anxiety. When you constantly rehearse success, resilience, solution finding, your nervous system is practicing confidence. Manifestation is not just about daydreaming. It is about rehearsing the reality you intend to create so often that the opportunity finally appears. You feel like you have already been there, because you have. Now I want to make this extremely practical. Imagine there is a goal you have. Maybe it's income, maybe it's a relationship, maybe it's your health, maybe it's a new business. Right now that goal has a certain vibration to you. Maybe it feels exciting and possible. Maybe it feels distant and fake and unattainable. Your job is to tune into the goal until it feels normal. Not far away, not fantasy, normal. When you do that, you stop acting like someone who's chasing. You start acting like someone who is catching up to what is already theirs. That shift changes everything. Now here's a process that you can use. First, write a goal in the present tense. Not I want to be or I want this, but I am or I already have. This is not about lying to yourself, it's about instructing your nervous system. Second, close your eyes and imagine one day in your life where the goal is already real. What time do you wake up? What do you see when you open your eyes? What does your bank account look like? What are you messaging? Where are you working from? Where are you traveling? What does your body feel like? What does it look like? Get very specific. The more details, the better. It's always said the more details, the faster it'll show up. Third, notice the emotional state of that future you. Calm, certain, focused, abundant, grateful. That emotional state is the frequency that you're aiming for. Fourth, come back to the present and ask, what is one decision I can make today that this future version of me would consider normal? Not huge, not overwhelming, just one aligned choice. Keep it simple. When you do this every day and you're not just thinking positive, you're training your brain to see the perspective of your future self. You are training your nervous system to feel at home in higher standards instead of intimidated by them. You're training your reticular activating system to notice opportunities to match that identity and to ignore the distractions that do not match. This is manifestation in the scientific language. Identify first, emotion second, behavior third, results last, unfortunately. Now, around this stage, most people hit a resistance. Old patterns are fighting back. The mind says, who are you to expect this? Who are you to want something like this? You've never done it before. Stay where you are. This is where disruption comes in. Manifestation without disruption is just pure fantasy. You have to interrupt and disrupt the old stories as they arise. You have to catch yourself in the middle of that old thought pattern and choose a new one again and again until the old vibration dies out. In the disruption program, I give you structured tools of how to do this. Pattern interrupts that snap you out of that low state, reframing techniques that change the meaning of setbacks, and the daily rituals that stabilize your new identity so it can withstand stress. If you're listening to this and you know you keep falling back into that same version of yourself every time life gets hard, you will love the depth we go into this here. The link is in the description if you want to step into that environment and have me guide you through it. Okay, let us talk about the dark side for a second. Manifestation works in both directions. If you walk around constantly rehearsing worst case scenarios, always telling yourself, nothing ever works for me, you're also manifesting that. You're vibrating at the level of fear and scarcity. You see threats faster and you're looking for them and you see those opportunities of the thing you don't want. You hesitate when you should move. You move impulsively when you should pause. You attract people who match your chaos and you call it bad luck. It is not bad luck. It is alignment with a frequency you never chose consciously because you kept feeding the wrong one. Now, be careful what you wish for. Be careful what you joke about even. Be careful what you repeat. Be careful what you say. If you constantly tell people, I'm always broke, don't be surprised when your nervous system filters reality to keep that story alive, which it does. If you constantly say, I always attract the wrong people, your brain will skip over the right ones because they do not match your script that you wrote. This is why language is so powerful. Your self-talk is standing order to your subconscious and your reticular activating system, and it's always listening. Once you understand that, you stop treating words as harmless. You start using them intentionally. They become weapons. Here's the part most people underestimate. Repetition. You do not tune your vibration to one meditation session. You tune it through daily focus, daily language, daily choices. Science calls it Hebbian learning. Neurons that fire together, wired together. The more you think and the more you feel in a certain pattern, the easier it is to become to feel and think in that certain way. That is why the beginning of any transformation feels hard. You're literally walking against the current of your own nervous system. But if you stay with it long enough, the current flips. The identity that used to feel impossible starts to feel familiar. And at that point, the behaviors that once felt really heavy start to feel light. That is when manifestation stops feeling like effort and it starts feeling like gravity. This is why I always say you do not get your goals, You get your standards. Your vibration is your standard. Okay? What you tolerate in your thoughts and in your emotions and in your actions is the floor your life will repeatedly fall back to. When you raise that standard and hold it, your world scrambles to catch up. People fall away, new people show up. Old opportunities dry up, new ones appear out of nowhere. Some doors slam in your face and you realize those doors were never meant to be yours. It can feel chaotic at first, but if you stay grounded, you start to see the pattern. Reality is rearranging around your new frequency. If you're serious about this work, give yourself an environment that supports it. That is why I built the Disruption Program in the first place. You get the frameworks, you get the science, you get the exercises, and you get the community that all speak the same language. And it accelerates your shift. Instead of trying to hold a new vibration alone in an environment that's pulling you back, you surround yourself with people who are moving in the same direction. If you feel this episode in your gut and you know you're ready to stop treating manifestation like a slogan and start treating it like a skill, the link is waiting in the description. Okay, to wrap this up, manifestation is not about sitting on the couch and wishing and whispering. It is about understanding how you are a living transmitter. Your thoughts, your emotion, your body language, how you speak, the way you move, all of that is broadcasting something at all times. That signal attracts to certain situations and also repels others. When you take responsibility for that signal, you take responsibility for your life. You decide what you think on purpose. You choose what you believe on purpose. You design the rituals on purpose. Over time, your luck changes, your relationships change, and your bank account changes, and your sense of self changes. That is the real science behind manifestation. Vibration as emotional and neurological state. Traction is perception and behavior. Belief is a pattern in your nervous system, and your future as the natural consequences of what you repeatedly allow yourself to think, feel, and do. So choose wisely, tune yourself very carefully, and be deliberate about the stories you repeat and the pictures you play in your mind. Be careful what you wish for, because if you're willing to align your vibration, your focus, and your actions, your wishes will have real chance of becoming your reality.